Hi students, I am P. Laura Juliet, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Computer Science with Data Analytics, Vellalar College for Women. In this video, we are going to learn about functions in Python. Functions are self-contained programs that perform some particular task. Once a function is created by a programmer for a specific task, this function can be called any time to perform that task. There are many built-in functions provided by Python, such as dir, len, absolute function, etc. For example, abs of -3 returns the absolute value 3. Min function returns minimum value from the list. Max function returns the maximum value. In the same way, power function, power POW of 3,2 returns the 3 raised to the power 2, that is 9. Len function is used to return the length of the particular string. Users can also build their own functions, which are called user-defined functions. The main advantages of using functions are they reduce duplication of code in a program. They break the large complex problem into small parts. They help in improving the clarity of code, that is, make the code easy to understand. A piece of code can be reused as many times as we want. Built-in functions. Built-in functions are the functions already defined in the Python programming language. We can directly call them to perform a particular task. Every built-in function in Python performs some particular task. For example, the math module has some mathematical built-in functions that perform tasks related to mathematics. Some of the built-in functions available in Python programming languages are type conversion used for explicit conversion, type Gaussian used for implicit conversion, math module handles mathematical functions, time and calendar module handles date and time functions, dir function lists the member of objects, and help function invoke the help system. Type conversion. There are some built-in functions that can convert one type of data into another type. For example, int function can take any number value and convert it into an integer. In this example, int of 23.45 returns the integer value 23. Type Gaussian. Another kind of type conversion in the Python language known as implicit conversion. Implicit conversion is also known as type Gaussian and is automatically done by the interpreter. Type Gaussian is a process through which the Python interpreter automatically converts a value of one type into a value of another type according to the requirements. Example, the Python interpreter automatically converts the numerator into float and does the calculation. In this example, 345.45 divided by 2 returns the float value. Mathematical functions. Python provides as a math module that contains most of the familiar and important mathematical functions. A module is a file that contains some predefined Python codes. A module can define functions, classes, and variables. It is a collection of related functions grouped together. Before using a module in Python, we have to import that particular module. For example, to import the math module, we use import space math. These statements creates an object of module named math. Now, if we try to print this object, the interpreter will give some information about that particular module. Here we use math module. Then the information about the math module will be displayed. To access this function, we have to write the name of the module followed by a dot and followed by a name. The example is math.log10 of x returns the base 10 logarithm of x. Math.power x comma y returns x raised to the power y value. Square root. Math.sqrt of x returns the square root of x. Cos of x returns the cosine of x. Date and time module. Python provides the built-in module time and calendar through which we can handle date and time in several ways. For example, we can use this module to get the current time and date. In order to use the time module, we need to import it into our program first. In this example, first we import the module calendar. So import space calendar. If you want to display the calendar for a year, then the statement can be used. Print calendar of 2025. So first calendar is the module name, and then second calendar is a function name. 2025 is an argument. Getting calendar for a month. Here we use the function month. Calendar dot, we call the function month. The arguments are 2025, 10. So it returns the calendar of October month. And then getting current date and time. So local time function return the local current time. ASC time return the formatted date and time in string. In this example, local time, ASC time and month are built-in functions contained in the modules time and calendar. Next one, DAR function. DAR takes an object as an argument. It returns a list of strings which are names of members of that object. If object is a module, it will list submodules, functions, and variables, constant, etc. Here we use the module math. First import that particular module, import math, and then call the function DAR. The argument, we pass the argument math in the DAR function. The result will be stored in the list variable, and then we print the result list. It gives the list of all the functions, modules and variables present in the math module. The module that is passed in the DAR function must be imported first. That is important. Help function. Help function is a built-in function in Python programming language which is used to invoke the help system. It takes an object as an argument. It gives all the detailed information about the object. Like if it is a module, then it will tell you about the submodules, functions, variables and constant in details. Here we used math.sign. So within help function, we pass the argument math.sign. It gives the details about sign function. In the same way, math.cos give detailed information about cos function. Composition of functions. The syntax of composition in mathematics is as follows. So f of g of x, where f and g are functions. Here f and g are functions. This means the return value of function g is passed into the function f as parameter or argument. In this example, we use math.exponential function exp of math.log10. Here the value of the function math.log10 is calculated first and then used as the argument for the function math.exp. Next, user defined function. Python also allows users to define their own functions. To use their own functions in Python, user have to define functions first. This is known as function definition. In a function definition, users have to define a name for the new function and also the list of the statements that will execute when the function will be called. An optional return statement to return a value of the function. Syntax of function. The block of the function starts with the keyword def, after which the function name is written followed by parentheses. So, the name with parenthesis is important. We can also give some input parameters or arguments to a function by placing them within this parenthesis. The block of statements always start with the colon. After writing the code statement, the block is ended with a optional return statement. So the return statement is optional, whose syntax is return square parenthesis within the square parenthesis expression. This is optional. If you want to return more than one value, separate the values using commas. The default return value is none. The rules for defining a function name are: the name can be consists of alphabets, numbers, and underscore. The name cannot start with the number. No keyword can be used as the name of the function. Give the same name to a variable and the function should be avoided. The parenthesis after the function name contain the parameters or argument. They are optional. Now we will see the example. The first line in the definition of the function is known as the header, and the rest is abbreviated as body. The header line will always end with a colon. The statements residing inside a function get executed only when the function is called. Outputs are generated only by the function calls and not by the function definition. We can define any number of statements in the body of the function. Defined, but they have to be ordered from the left margin. The output will be displayed like this. Next, parameters and arguments. Parameters is variable in the declaration of function. Argument is the actual value. We pass this actual value in the function call. Argument is the actual value of this variable that gets passed to function. In this example, x and y. In the function sum, x and y are parameters, 10 and 20 are arguments. There are 4 types of parameter or formal arguments. First one is required arguments. At the time of calling, the argument should be passed to a function in correct position and order. Here we use the correct positional order in the same parameter order. Furthermore, the number of arguments should match the defined number of parameters. Here we used 2 parameters a, b. In the same way, we used 2 arguments 10, 20 in the same order. Next one is keyword argument. The caller recognizes the arguments by the parameter's name. In this case, order of argument is not important because we give the arguments with name. Next, default argument. In default arguments, we can assign a value to a parameter at the time of function definition. Here, the default argument is 10. This value is considered the default value to the parameter. If you do not provide a value to the parameter at the time of calling, it will not produce an error. Instead, it will pick the default value and use it. It did not raise any error. It used the default value. Default values are assigned from right to left. There should be only one value for one parameter. In variable length arguments, we can pass any number of arguments. Function calling. A function is called using the name with which it was defined earlier, followed by a pair of parentheses. Any input parameters or arguments are to be placed within these calling parentheses. All parameters which are passed in functions are always passed by reference in Python. This means that if the value of the parameters are changed in the function, it will also reflect the change in the calling function. Example, we use the function sum, create the function definition sum, two argument 1 with the argument 2. Then we calculate the sum and return the addition value. Calling the sum function here, sum of a comma b. The return value is stored in the variable total and then print the total. The return statement. The return statement is used to exit a function. A function may or may not return a value. If a function returns a value, it is passed back by the return statement as argument to the caller. If it does not return any value, we simply write a return with no arguments. In Python, we can return multiple values from a function. Following are different ways. It can return, in this first example, it can return a multiple value in the form of tuple. It is created with or without parentheses. Tuples are immutable. In this example, we return more than one values. str string is a string value and x is the integer value. So we return more than one value. In the same way, in the example 2, it can return a multiple value in the form of list. The items are created using square parentheses. Lists are different from tuples as they are mutable. So here we return in list format. So we used square parentheses here. Return square within square parentheses. We list the return. We list the arguments. Next, recursion. Python also accepts function recursion, which means a defined function can call itself. The function called itself is called recursion. Recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function calls itself. Here, recursion function to find the factorial of an integer. Factorial function, factorial of x. We create factorial of x inside the function. It called itself. Factorial is a function that we have defined to call itself. We use the x variable as the data, which decrements -1 every time we recurse. The recursion ends with it is 1. The anonymous function. Next one is the anonymous function lambda. The anonymous function are the functions created using a lambda keyword. They are not defined by using def keyword. For this reason, they are called anonymous function. A lambda function can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. It is a single line statement function. This is the syntax. First we use the lambda keyword and within the square bracket we give the argument list. In this example 1, a lambda function that multiplies argument A with the argument B and print the result. In the second example, a lambda function that adds 10 to the number passed into the argument and print the result. In the third example, this function sums argument A, B and C and print the result. Writing Python scripts. The first and most common way to use Python is to write code into a file and run the file as a script using Python interpreter. Any text editor can be used to create the script file in which any valid Python statement can be written. Python script is usually saved with extension .py. Like this .py. Python code in a file is also called a module. This is the structure of a Python file. Command section start with a hash which is optional. This is where you can put detail about script. You can add any number of lines which start with hash here. Import section and import section is the right place for adding import statements for importing needed other modules or functions into this particular script. Main is a good place to put all the high level code for solving the particular problem. The last section invokes the main function only if the module is executed as a script. It prevents the execution of main function when the module is imported in other scripts. It is used to execute some code only if the file was run directly and not imported. Then pause statement. In Python, pause is a null statement. The interpreter does not ignore a pause statement, but nothing happens and the statement results into no operation. The pause statement is useful when you don't write the implementation of a function, but you want to implement if you used in the future. This is the example. Here first we create the function addition with the argument num1, num2 but without body statement. So this is the pause statement. We use only pause hash. Pause statement is the command line. So pause is the statement here. That is pause statement. It ignores the execution. In the second example, we displace the number using the pause statement within the if statement. If number is 2, then the execution pause. Otherwise, it displays the result. This is pause statement. Thank you.